Episode number 215 of the Wholesome Fertility Podcast. My guest today is Nancy Weiss. Nancy is a dear friend of mine. She's an intuitive coach, Reiki Master, Oracle deck creator, wife, and mama to two girls. She's been on this podcast before, so if you guys want to get a background on Nancy, and it's actually a great episode that I've had other people reach out to me saying that she really inspired them. So you could check her episode out, her original one, which is episode 152 of this podcast. And Nancy has gone through infertility and then had two babies and then also breast cancer all within 6 short years. She realized that she needed to nourish herself on a deeper level to live happier and healthier. And her passion is supporting women around the world to do the same with their spiritual self-care growth and transformation so that they can be their authentic selves and live full and happy lives. Welcome to the Wholesome Fertility Podcast. I'm Michelle, a fertility acupuncturist here to provide you with resources on how to create a wholesome approach to your fertility journey. Welcome back to the podcast, Nancy. I'm so happy to have you today.
I am so happy to be here. It's been a while. We've done 2 podcasts before, and they were amazing. Women loved them. I had so many women reach out to me about them. So I am super excited to be here today again for another episode.
Yes. So I just recently actually had a client of mine come on and share her story on the podcast. By the time this airs, hers will air, but it hasn't from the time that we're talking right now. So she actually mentioned you because you had mentioned your story and just like how you had the embryos in Atlanta and like just all of the coincidences, and your story gave her so much hope. And I've had people reach out to me about your story, and I don't always have people mentioning episodes. I mean, they mention here and there, but like specifically yours, your whole story really touched people. And so I was just talking to you before in the pre-talk about how I almost didn't want to talk too much on the pre-talk because I'm like, I want to save the good stuff and like have it authentic, just conversation. And because you never know who you're going to impact with your story.
It's true. I still hear, like I said, there's something about this podcast and me and you, or, like I said, that I've had women that weren't even going through fertility issues, heard our episode and reached out and was like, Nancy, that was incredible. And I was just like, well, it just blows my mind. It really does. So we'll need to talk later and you'll need to let me know who it is.
Yes, I will. And then I'll actually send you her the episode. You'll see. And she talked about how much you influenced her and how much you've really like touched her. And of course, when I got to know you, we were like coordinating for a while back and forth until we finally talked. And I immediately felt a connection. I think we have the New York thing. Like we just have that, like, the Northeast, like something about your energy that I've always personally connected with. And I do feel like that also, like, when things are meant to be, they're meant to be. And like everybody feels it and it's meant to be for them to hear. And like, there's definitely this like intelligent soup that we're part of that really impacts everybody's life. And that's what I was saying. It's so funny because sometimes people hear stories and then they say, that's exactly what I needed to hear at that moment. It was like meant for me. And it's amazing to me. Like I have that happen to me when I go to yoga. Like they'll say something to the class. I'm like, oh my God, that was meant for my ears. Like I needed to hear that. It's crazy.
Right. You're like, you're in my head. How does she know that?
Yes, totally. So catch us up because I know you've been through a lot these past couple of years. And also have like some tough news that you've gone through, but like exciting news because you're in a good place now, and also some exciting new things happening.
Yeah, so where we left off, I prior to about 1 year ago, I was still working in fertility, but on my way moving towards helping women in general, just supporting women in general, because I felt like I needed to start branching out a little bit more. And last September, I was in the middle. I was really busy with my business. I was fully booked. I was like 3 months out, wait list. Things were, going good, but I was working myself a little bit too hard. It was a little much for me. And September of last year, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. And it hit me like a freight train, as anyone could imagine, hearing that kind of news. It's not something that's in my family. It's not
Mhm.
something that was expected. It was very unexpected. I had just finished breastfeeding a year prior. So
Mhm.
assumed like, okay, it was, maybe something from that. And yeah, I wound up getting diagnosed, and my life stopped for a minute there, a hot
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah.
Everything just so much came to like the forefront of my mind, my entire life and everything. And when that happened, um, I decided to shut down my business. That was what I needed to do, was that I needed to shut down my business completely.
Mhm.
And I needed to focus on me 100%.
Yeah.
I needed to like make it my job to take
Totally.
care of myself.
Yeah. Sometimes that happens. You're just like, okay, I've got the message. I need to put myself first. And it's so easy to put ourselves last. I mean, in so many circumstances, it's so easy, especially with two little ones. And yeah.
Exactly. So everything was, about, here you are again, women wear so many, no offense to the guys, but women,
Hmm.
we wear so many hats, especially
Yeah.
as a mother. So here we are mothering our children. We are taking care of our partner. We're cooking. We are, making sure everybody's got what they need. We
Hmm.
are taking care of our businesses. If you're an entrepreneur, you're running a business, or if you're working for somebody else, there's just so much, and it's so easy to put ourselves on the back burner.
Hmm.
It's so easy to do that. It's so easy to fall into a rut of just taking care of everyone else except yourself. And that was the big lesson, over this last year, for me, and where, how I'm choosing now to help other women say, hey, you need to slow down or you will be slowed down. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's the thing too. I feel like we are slowed down by things sometimes,
Hmm.
like it's like, hey, you better slow down because you're not taking care of yourself. You need to start paying attention to you. And
Hmm.
that's what, that's my passion right now, is to help women put themselves in the forefront, to make themselves the priority in their lives.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's influenced even your work with people and how you approach
Yes.
it and the things that you pay attention to.
Yes, that's like what my focus is now. And then I'm doing it from a spiritual aspect too, which is pretty amazing. So I'm still doing, things like Reiki. I just started very powerful guided meditation, guided visualizations, and things like that. But we'll talk about a little bit more later too about some of the other things that I have going on. But yeah, so the last year, basically, like I said, I made self-care my job. And a lot of women, when you ask them like, well, what do you do for self-care? And they'll say, oh, well, I like to go for a pedicure. I like to
Hmm.
take a bubble bath.
Hmm.
But that's not really self-care. Self-care is so much deeper than that. Self-care is boundaries, setting boundaries. Self-care is setting priorities. Self-care is nourishing yourself the way that you're supposed to.
Hmm.
Self-care is looking at your shadow side and the things about you that you maybe don't like so much. Self-care is looking at and taking care of your inner child. I literally can go on and on of what true self-care is. And when you start, looking at those things, you start to see the parts in your life that aren't like kind of, meeting those things that you really need for yourself, so that you can slow down and take care of yourself the right way. There's so much involved in that self-care. And that was my journey over the last year, while I literally, looked at all of these things that I needed to do for myself and take care of myself. Things about my mom, relationship with my mom,
Hmm.
and being upset about things that had happened in the past, and working on, okay, what do I need to forgive right now? What can I
Yeah.
release? If I
Right.
died tomorrow, what is it that I need to resolve for myself and take care of? What are the conversations that I need? What
Yeah.
are the relationships that are not serving me? So it was a deep, deep journey
Yeah.
into all types of self-care, and bringing myself and getting through cancer with like an incredible mindset, where I looked every day at cancer and I said, not, how, why is this happening? Though don't, I won't lie, there were a few times where I was like, on the kitchen floor going, God, why me?
Yeah.
But on most days it was, what is the lesson I need to learn from cancer? Cancer is a gift right now. How can I learn from this? What can I do to improve my life after
Mm.
going through this and going through it?
That's profound. That's huge. I mean, it's so profound because that's a hard thing to do.
It was challenging, but all the work that I've done over the last 5 years through my fertility journey, through the mindset work, through the manifestation, through the affirmations, through the meditations, through the self care that I learned to give myself, it was it was like I said, everything that I learned over the last 5 years in my fertility journey and everything has led me to this point. I was like,
Hmm.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
I needed to know how to use all those tools so that I could help myself over this last year, and get myself through one of our, I would say, most people's biggest fears in their life is like,
Yes.
no one wants to hear they have cancer. That's the
Yes.
scary stuff, you know?
It absolutely. And it's interesting as you were talking about self-care, I thought about a friendship. Like, how are you going to show up as your friend? Because if you think about it, there's obviously, I mean, there's a lot of fun getting pedicures with your friends, but when you're really, really close friends with somebody, you're there for them through the thick and the thin, and you're there for them to really hold their hand through everything. And I thought to myself, like, it's like true being a true friend to yourself. Like that's what self-care is. How deep do you want to go with yourself?
Yes, and I say that sometimes too. I talk about that, like, what would your best friend tell you in the situation that, whatever you're in right now? Would she be like, hey, you really should go work some more. You
Hmm.
really should go, well, you need to go like do this. Why don't you go sign up for the PTA and
Hmm.
bake cookies for a week? And
Yeah.
not that we don't have to need to do those things, but no, your friend would tell you, Michelle, you need to take a step back.
Yeah.
You need to take care of yourself. You need to like take a moment and realize, okay, like, where, slow down. What do I
Hmm.
need? That was
Yeah.
one of the biggest questions I asked myself this year was, what do I need to make a priority for myself today?
Yes.
This is like an incredible question, ladies. Anyone listening, put this on a post-it note, put it on your bathroom mirror. What do I need most today? And you're going to get your answer. You're going to know. I need to go to the beach and sit at the waves for 20 minutes.
Mm.
I need to
Yeah.
start exercising. I need to stop eating gluten again. I need to spend some quality time with my kids. You know, there's so much, but this is how we start to put ourselves first. There is no shame and no guilt. We have so much mama guilt of putting ourselves first, of doing something for ourselves. Even a massage, you're like, oh, I feel guilty going for a massage
It's
because I
ingrained.
should be cleaning out the pantry, you know? But if you don't balance that time, your life will become very unbalanced very quickly.
Totally. And so what were the things that you did for self-care? I mean, you had mentioned a big list, but more meditating, more going introspection.
Yes. So
Yeah.
one of the things for me was, because I am an energy healer and I was doing all that work for other women, like, before I would do a Reiki session, I would ground myself, I would protect myself, call my angels in. Well, I was only doing that for my clients.
Mm,
And I completely wasn't doing anything for myself. So I'd wake up in the morning all scattered. I knew I'd have to get both babies, like one out, one to school, take care of one at home. And I would just be like rushing out of bed. And that would be it. And so I made it a point that I said, okay, Nancy, you have to wake up 30 minutes early, whatever's going to work for you, and you're going to sit there and you're going to put your music on, your meditation music. You're
mm,
going to meditate or whatever. For me, meditation may be a scary word for someone. For me, it's just basically grounding myself. It's calling in my angels and guides. It's
mm.
listening to the beautiful YouTube music that I may have on, getting those calming feelings, doing my gratitude list. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God. Thank you for me breathing today. Thank you for the warm bed. Thank you for, the medicine that I'm receiving that's taking good care of me, like all these things. And so that became my morning routine. And that changed everything for me, especially just like as a mom, to
Yeah.
be able to just be like, oh, okay, like I took care of myself. I had my 30 minutes, 20 minutes for myself to ground myself. And now I'm going to take care of the rest of the family. Because I used to, and most of us, I'm sure, whoever's listening, you'd say, okay, later on today, I'm going to go do this for myself. And then your day goes, and
Hmm.
there's another day of you not doing what you were supposed to do,
Yes. So
you
it's a more
know?
proactive way. Like start the day that way. Like start it from the beginning.
Right. That's what worked for me because like I knew that I would just keep wasting my day is so busy. I literally, you know how it is. It's like you're going from driving to gymnastics with one kid and picking up one from school and then grocery shopping. And it's like, who then has time in the middle of the day to just be like, okay, let me sit down for 30 minutes now,
Right.
when you're already feeling rushed.
Yeah.
So that was one of the important things. Doing specific guided healing visualizations for myself. So anytime, if you know about cancer, you think about chemotherapy and what it does to people. If you've seen it before or heard about it, you think it being poison is a big thing that people talk about.
Mhm.
For me, every time I was getting my medication, for me, I would envision beautiful angels sending this healing light through the medicine or
Wow.
through my radiation. So I had to do radiation as well. So if people don't know, I went through 6 months of chemotherapy every 3 weeks, followed by a double mastectomy, followed by 30 days of daily radiation. So I had a lot
Wow.
going on. And then I
Yeah.
still had to continue medication. But every time something was going on, I just envisioned this beautiful green healing light from Archangel Raphael entering my body. That it was going down through my cells, and when you do that, when you have this mindset of I could have went in every day and said, oh God, look at they're giving me poison again. This is
Hmm.
poison.
Yeah.
But I chose to see it opposite. And when you change your mindset, you change your world,
Yes, you do.
your
Yeah.
inner world, your outer world. You're making those changes. So it was very conscious effort to do the things that I chose to do for myself.
Absolutely. We talked about Joe Dispenza because I had just come from his oh my God, week retreat. It was amazing. But he wrote the book You Are the Placebo, and he talked about actually people believing in the medicine, and it could be anything. But if you believe in the medicine, you align with the medicine, you're that much more likely to have it work.
Yes, I mean, we've seen it. They've done trials, you know
Yep.
what I mean, where we've proven these
Yeah.
things, so we have the proof. And so I read, those were some of the books in the beginning. I was like, okay, Nancy, what do I need to do? So I got Dr. Joe's books and I
Yeah.
got Bruce Lipton's books and I read another book. I forget her name now, but I listened to her visualizations every day.
Hmm.
And
Louise
hers were
Hay.
about, no, but I do have a book by Louise Hay called Trust Life,
Ooh, I love that.
which
Yeah.
is a daily book. So it goes by the date. And I've
Hmm.
read that every day since I was diagnosed with cancer. And that's one of my favorite books.
Wow.
It's my favorite book. book. Brandon Bays, I think her name is.
Hmm.
She has a male name, Brandon Bays. But listen to her visualizations every day, which were about healing childhood trauma,
Mm.
you know, healing things from the past, things that we don't always think about, or we do think about, but we kind of push it. We're like, I don't want to think about that. But to release and forgive my parents for things that happened when I was a child was so healing for me, to release the tears.
Yeah.
I was a woman that didn't cry.
Mm.
I'm the person that doesn't cry. I don't cry. But I learned to cry this year and to let things go. And it was so healing for me. So healing.
And liberating too.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. To not feel like you have to be so damn strong all the time. That
Yeah.
you can be strong, but being vulnerable and sensitive is okay too. It's wonderful to have this beautiful balance, especially if you're like a type a more masculine type woman where you're like want to get things done and
Hmm.
you just we let go of that feminine side, where
Right.
it's okay to receive, it's okay to ask for help, it's okay to ask for support. So we forget these things, and what I've learned is that we need a constant reminder for this
Hmm.
for ourselves.
Yeah.
I still need my constant reminders every day. I still have my post-it notes on my mirror to say, Nancy, what do you need most today? Nancy, your body is beautiful and perfect as it is.
Hmm.
Like
Love it.
all these things I have are always reminding myself.
Yeah, we always do need reminders. It doesn't matter how much we know and how much we've learned. We still need reminders. And what struck me was, I actually find vulnerability to be extremely powerful and strong. So it's interesting how initially we'll think it's weak, but it's actually, I find it to be really strong. You need a lot of courage to be vulnerable.
Yes, it's opening your heart, opening that beautiful heart chakra up to
Yeah.
other people or yourself, or situations. But once you start doing that work, I mean, it's really life changing. My life completely changed. People tell me today, they're like, oh my God, I'm so, I tell them, oh, I just had cancer. And they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, I'm not, I'm all right. Like
Yeah.
this was a gift for me to learn so much over this last year, because who knows what else would have stopped me. You know what I mean? If I wasn't just like going like a train, like the Energizer Bunny that just doesn't
Yeah.
stop. You
Mm.
know, now it's like, I remember to be mindful. I try to do my best to be mindful to, whatever it is that I'm doing. Even if it's literally smelling the roses on the
Hmm.
street, on my
Yeah.
neighbor's, bushes there, is stopping to smell the roses, looking at the ponds, looking at the sky, the
Hmm.
clouds, and just enjoying the beautiful life that we are in.
Yes.
Even amongst the chaos, we have the ability to separate ourselves and just, to really see this beautiful present moment where we are right now.
Yes. And I've had friends that have gone through breast cancer and another kind of cancer as well, uterine cancer. And one of the things that I've found, it's interesting, really interesting, is that they start to have this appreciation for every moment. And there's a power that comes with that. It's wild, but it's almost like this initiation of realizing the precious moment that you have that most of us don't even pay attention to. We just focus on whatever, we're conditioned to kind of like want things right away and then not take the moment, not really fully embrace that moment.
Yeah, I mean, this is and this journey for me, I mean, I've had multiple spiritual awakenings over my lifetime. But this is a journey that we're always on. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of stopping for a moment,
Yeah.
to really start to pay attention to, who we are. Why are we the way we are?
Hmm.
What needs improvement for ourselves? What are our weaknesses? What are our strengths? But then also not like beating ourselves up for being weak in a certain area. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's just like, how
Yeah,
can we make it better?
absolutely.
One of my things was like exercise. I prefer to sit down on the TV and watch Netflix and never ever exercise. But I knew that going through the chemotherapy, I got very weak. And
Hmm.
there were days after chemotherapy where I wasn't even able to walk half a block. And what I did was I hired myself a personal trainer.
Hmm.
And I was like, you got to come to this house. I knew that I wouldn't exercise on my own. And so I did have the ability to have her come and be like, we need to do something. We need to work out. And she kept me strong throughout this whole thing,
Mm.
but I needed that support. Then once I was done with her, I started to find things that I could do on my own. Like I love boxing.
Hmm.
And let me tell you, I mean, 2 years ago, if you would have told me like, oh, the babysitter can't come so that I couldn't go to the gym, I would have been like, yes, now I can go watch
Yeah,
TV. Well, let me tell you, 2 Mondays ago, I called four of my babysitters because each one couldn't do it. And I did everything in my power. I was like, I must go take care of myself and I must go to the gym. And I made
yeah,
it happen. And if you would have said that a year ago, that would have been like, no way, Nancy would never have done that. So we do have the ability to change who we are or who
it's
we
true.
think we are.
Yeah,
It's making this conscious effort and to keep doing it over and over and over again so that it becomes a habit for
Mm.
ourselves,
Yeah,
whatever that
that's
is.
exactly a
Yeah.
lot of Joe's teaching. It's really becoming a different person, becoming another person. We have that choice. If you change the personality, you can change your physiology. And we've seen that also with multiple personalities. It's what is it? Personality
Disorder.
dissociative disorder, where
Mhm.
people will have allergies based on one personality. Another personality comes in, the hives go away. Even eye color changes. It's crazy, but the physiology completely shifts. Labs change. So identity, like the identity that you have in your own body, it's one body, many different identities. And to think that that can change is insane. Like it just defies our logic of what we think reality is.
Yeah, and you hear stories. I mean, when I was diagnosed, I heard many stories. I did also hire a coach. I hired a cancer coach for myself during this time because I knew that I needed this extra support. It doesn't matter that I'm a
Yeah.
coach myself. I'm like,
Oh,
yes,
it
I
doesn't
can coach
matter. We
myself,
need
but I
coaches.
need, yes, but I needed support. So I hired a cancer coach to work on the mindset and things like that. And, I've heard stories where people were like, well, we knew two people that had lung cancer. One person said, oh my God, this is going to kill me. I'm going to die tomorrow. And another person was like, you know what? I'm going to do everything I can to help myself. And the person that said that they were going to die tomorrow died very quickly.
Hmm.
Like they succumbed to everything. And I'm not, I'm not putting it saying that that person is bad. That's a tough spot to be in, but it shows like what our mind and what we can do for ourselves. And it's almost like we have to like take ourselves out of our body and
Hmm.
then like look at ourselves like from the outside so that we could be like, okay, this is what Nancy keeps telling herself. We need to change these thoughts. We need to change these words. You know what I mean? and
Hmm.
and that's how we create this this positive, a positive mindset and mind, just in a way of living and doing the different things that we do. We have a tendency to say like, oh, I've always been that way. Oh, I'll never change.
Hmm.
Well, if you
Yeah.
can't say you're always been that way and you'll never change, then you know what? You will never change.
Right. It's a
But
choice.
you have the opportunity to say, oh, I'm going to change this,
Hmm.
or I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna do something different
Right.
and take yourself out of this robotic, just, living.
Yeah, totally. Well, what he says is like your body's almost like the animal. It's like you have to tame the animal. The animal will always convince you, like, no, you can't sit here for the meditation. Move, do something else. And if you listen to the body, then you're just going to let the body win. But you can tame it. You can, it may be difficult, it may be tough, and that's what any training of an animal. And he says he kind of talks, it refers to the body as an animal. Like any kind of training takes repetition in order to get there, but you can eventually do that. And that's when the mind masters the body And that's where we all want to be, and we can
Yes.
be, but it's a choice. It's a choice that we make. Do we want to go through the difficulties or the challenges of training that body, or do we just want to take the easier path? But it's not really the easier path, right?
Right. I mean, as you know, you think about somebody like that plays piano, it's like they kind of pick it up and it doesn't sound so great. And then they keep trying and trying and
Yep.
trying. And then eventually they're playing a whole concert. But
Yes.
it took time to do that. We have to give ourselves time to
Right.
grow into that. You know what I mean? To
Totally.
practice, to continually practice, to see the mistakes, to see the improvement, and to keep going so that we can master those type of things, like mastering our self-care.
Yes, definitely. I love the reminders that you said that you do, because that's like, I mean, everybody needs that. I don't care how much you practice. I think we just all as humans need reminders.
Yes. So one of my things for, I guess, what I would consider a great reminder, which I'm probably we're going to talk about, are my oracle cards, which I'm so excited. I created a deck. It's called the Key to Life Oracle deck, and it came to me in a meditation one day
Mm.
at 8 o'clock in the morning. I was doing my meditation, and I get this little message saying, "Hey, you should make an oracle deck." And I kind of looked up and I was like, what are you talking about? Like I don't have anything to make an oracle deck of. And by 4 o'clock that day, when my daughter was in gymnastics, I wrote the entire deck.
Oh, wow.
And it was so divine. It came through me, and I knew that the deck had to be all about self-care and spiritual growth and transformation. And I wrote 44 cards that each have a subject like boundaries, priorities, inner child, shadow work, all these things with a specific little phrase on it. And the reason I created this deck is so that every day you can pull a card from this deck and realize like, okay, this is what my higher self is telling me to do. So I have also infused this incredible deck with Reiki, and it creates a portal to the owner's higher self so that they just get the exact messages that they need. And the feedback I'm getting from this deck is just incredible. But the fact that women are pulling a card each day and following it, and that's what we need for self-care. We need
Yes.
to be reminded every single day, and this is just I think it's just an incredible way to do it.
Me too. I want one. It sounds amazing. It really is. And I do believe that things are divinely channeled. Like you get that nudge, and good for you for listening to it and like taking it that day, like really executing it like that same day. Because I think that if you do miss out on that opening, that window, it's not the same. So it's kind of like something came through you.
Oh, definitely. It
Yeah.
certainly did. Again, because it wasn't a plan. It wasn't like I was a
Right.
plan or thought. It literally just it came in just like such a divine download. And I within like 2 or 3 weeks I had them printed. I was like, okay, this is it. Um, and it just to see women using them, to see that they are, and their family, they're like letting their kids pull a card or their husband pull a card, and seeing like, okay, like what do I need to focus on today? Because we're not always thinking about like, oh, I should probably do some inner child work, or like
Absolutely.
whatever it may be. Like I said, there's 44 cards, so there's so much in there. Or intuition, like intuition is self-care. Relying on your intuition and trusting yourself is part of your self-care.
Hmm.
So all these,
It really
there's so
is.
many
Yeah.
little things.
Yeah. Intuition is like, it's an asset that is not used enough. Like it really should be used more, because it's our intelligence. It's another layer to our intelligence that keeps us safe, keeps us well, and really keeps us in line in our life.
Yeah, it's trusting ourselves. We
Yeah.
don't trust ourselves enough.
Yeah.
And then it's just like everything else. It takes practice to
Mhm.
start to trust yourself again, especially if you've kind of closed things down. When we're very stressed out, whatever we're going through, family, fertility, it doesn't matter. We could tend to push all that stuff aside,
Yeah.
and so we forget how to trust ourselves. And that's such an important thing to practice so that we can get back to that point again. And that was part of this year too for myself. It's like I could be psychic and intuitive for other people,
Right.
but it was like I forgot about me. I totally
Because
forgot about me.
which is always, it's always that way. It's always that way. Ask me when the last time I had my acupuncture session. You know,
Right,
I could do it myself. I could do it on myself, but it's just like you put yourself
right.
off, and it really is a good reminder not to do that, to really put yourself first. It's because you're what everything leans on really in your life. I mean, that's ultimately, and this goes for everyone. It goes for everyone. And so for people who want to reach out to you and want to work with you, how can they find you?
I'm on Instagram, and my handle is at Nancy Weiss Intuitive. If you go to the link in my bio, you can get connected to my free Facebook group called the Self Care Sanctuary. And I'm doing monthly self care chats in there. I give a little bit of free Reiki. I do some card pulls with my Oracle cards. You could also find links to buy my card deck directly. I have incredible manifestation visualizations if you want to just like improve your manifesting abilities or things you want to bring into your life. That's getting incredible feedback. So yeah, there's a link in my bio in Instagram to all these different things, both free and paid. And that's the best way to connect with me. And I'm so honored for anyone that goes there and likes my post. If you look at my reels, I do card pulls, I do little self-care chats. So it's my pleasure to be able to share that and to continually remind women to take care of themselves.
Oh my God, such words of wisdom. And Nancy has a fabulous Instagram that I follow. I love her Instagram. It feels so colorful, and you could almost feel the energy like channeled through it. Whether it's you talking or like whatever your posts are, it's interesting how you can really feel a channeled energy with people's Instagram, but you definitely bring it home that way. So
Thank you so much.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
Well,
so much, Kelly.
Nancy, having you, talking to you, anytime we talk, I just love talking to you, and I can pick your brain for hours. And I really appreciate you coming on, being so vulnerable with your story. And I know that it's definitely moved me listening to it, and it's inspired me. So I know that it's inspiring so many people out there. You are just truly a beautiful warrior, and I'm so happy and blessed to know you. So thank you, Nancy.
Thank you so much. I am so, so happy to spend time with you, and I am very grateful.
So that concludes today's episode. You can find all of the links mentioned on the episode notes. If you're enjoying these episodes, please take a moment to share and leave a review. Reviews mean everything to podcasters, and I really enjoy hearing from my listeners. You can also find me on my website at www.thewholesomelotus.com or email me at info@thewholesomelotus.com. I love hearing from my listeners. If you're interested and want updates as well as a free ebook on my top 10 fertility boosting habits, you can visit my fertility page on www.thewholesomelotus.com. I thank you so much for listening in and hope that you have a beautiful day.